Hello.
Hello.
Hello. You guys hear me?
Yep.
Cool. I took a heck of a risk between the team call and this. I ran to get Charlie at the groomer, and I almost got T-boned on Freeport Road in the process of doing that.
Ooh. Wow.
Hey, Noah.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Noah.
Nice to put a face to the name. We love your dad. He is just such a great person. Hope he doesn't think differently of us.
Noah's like, oh, really? That's not really what he says.
Oh, I gotta disable the waiting room. I've got this live streaming too. TV page.
Very cool.
What up? Allie made it back.
Literally just walked in the door.
All right, I'm gonna take off the waiting room. I figured out in the last moment how to screencast my phone so I can walk through some real-time editing of some photos. So see how that goes. We'll do it live. This is part of our fall FoodSocial fall playlist, of which I am still the sole contributor.
I'll contribute, Bill. I will.
I don't think I have access like I did before to add songs.
Either.
Ah, okay.
I just tried the other day and I forgot to mention it, but that's a good reminder.
Alrighty. Well, that is a good reminder. I'll try and resolve that.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Priya.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Hi, Bryce. Priyanka. John Daly.
I'm going to go slightly off camera because I'm stuffing my face. So
Please. Sure, we're
Just
doing
a little
that.
bit away.
We are FoodSocial, Priya, so this is always the safe
I know.
space speed.
Yeah.
This
Who's got
was a
something fun
hurriedly-
to eat or drink? I've just got water in this unique glass.
I have a little
I got a
smoothie
messy gluten-free
situation.
wrap, so it's like falls apart.
Yeah. Right on. This is very informal. Oh, John, hold on. We're going to pin you. Stay there. Pin. That looks good.
Green tomatoes and
You
tomatillos.
can just head all the way back to the right.
Did you grow those?
Yep.
It's a good time of year to be eating that stuff.
Yeah, I saw a recipe for green tomato sauce. Thought that'd be a good use of it. Roasted tomatoes.
Yeah. Our garden was a hot mess this year, but maybe there's always next year, right? Farmers get 30 chances to get it right.
Does that mean until you die? Is that the-
Yeah. So sorry, that was a little dark. Yeah. Hopefully more than 30, but good lord.
Yeah.
Hey, Danielle. Hey, Sean.
Yo,
Ooh, Michelle, what kind of mini muffins did you make?
My little AV girl made little mini confetti muffins. They're just vanilla with unicorn sprinkles. So, but yeah, she's testing a recipe for me. I'm gonna share it at some point, but she made them all by herself. Basically.
Oh,
Hmm.
fun. Sweet.
A minute to go, so.
Where did you get unicorn sprinkles from?
It's a brand called Supernatural. Really trying
Oh, yeah.
on the platform. They're super fun, festive, and they use all natural colorings and stuff. So, but they're super fun shapes. They have some really fun ones for the holidays. So, like an ugly sweater sprinkles. Like they have little ugly sweaters as little sprinkles.
So cute.
They're Supernatural would be on our hot list.
Yes.
Shout out to Supernatural. Oh, let's start recording, and then we can say that again. We're getting shout outs to Supernatural in the chat too.
When I was a promotion manager at a TV station,
Supernatural was the last show I premiered. I rented out a big movie theater and I gave away pre-screening tickets and everything. So I love Supernatural.
Yes, we love that show.
So fun.
We're currently in Outlander season 5 over here, so my dreams are haunted with people like with swords and red coats and things of that nature. So cool. I'm gonna turn down the music. Big apologies to Allie. You won't be able to harass me with the board on this one. I know it's very sad.
Try and sneak one in at the very end if we have time.
Yeah. We didn't like really plan on it, but does anyone want to give any brief updates on how things are going? The one that I can think of specifically is Priyanka. I think you've been kicking some serious butt putting together our ebook. Can you give us
serious
a quick update on your massive effort?
I am actually updating it simultaneously, and I just clicked for page 200. So we're already at 200 pages with the ebook.
Amazing.
I'm thinking it is probably already 100 recipes and over. So that is exciting. But yeah, great job, everyone. So many good recipes. I made sure I was full before I started updating the ebook because I was salivating throughout the process. But so many good recipes, a good mix of both savory and sweet recipes. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited for us to release this ebook and get people cooking from this ebook.
It's amazing.
But thank you, everyone.
Thank you. For anybody that doesn't know, Priyanka has been spending hours and hours taking the recipes that you've all shared with her, getting them formatted into Canva, making sure that the photos are there, the recipes are formatted. It's a massive, massive undertaking, but really appreciate all of your efforts. I'm so excited to get it in our market and have everybody be able to see everything that you've done, and it's going to be truly amazing. So thank you.
Team effort for sure. Thanks, Andy.
Super excited. Just in other like super quick dev type updates. One thing that we rolled out in the last week that we haven't talked about too much, but some of you may have already noticed, is that the publish on demand, even with pending ingredients, is live. So if you have a recipe that you're dying to share and we don't have all the ingredients in our database, you can now share that recipe. You can publish it. Our amazing team is going back and editing to get the ingredients synced up as quickly as possible. And it's Erica that's working on that, right? Right? Erica Tangeman has been putting in the ingredients.
Yes, for pending recipes.
For pending recipes, yeah. Yeah, so we've been, maybe it's more than just Erica, but we've been working rapidly behind the scenes to make that happen. So if you have recipes you want to publish on demand, you can now do that, and we hope it works seamlessly for you. We have more design updates coming in the coming weeks. We're still ironing out the kinks in the development environment. Some of our development team is even on this call. Shout out to John Daly, who's our amazingly talented developer and has been for quite some time, who is also a cook.
And our newest developer, he's worked, a couple years ago, but he should be starting any day now. My son Noah is also on the call, and is our family photographer, so that's why I thought he might be interested in this call.
So Noah, if I might introduce you by way of a anecdote, I think you had done a cooking contest for another customer of your dad's before, where the ingredient was eggplant. Do you want to tell us how you tackled that cooking contest? And I believe, did you win?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
So the contest was to make something with eggplant. So most people made a ratatouille style type of thing. They'll look pretty similar to me. I don't like eggplant, so instead I made a cake that looked exactly like an eggplant, but there didn't have any eggplant in it.
Amazing.
He kind of got rejected. I think they didn't appreciate the sugar in the oven. I thought it was pretty cool, but the judges didn't like it.
Well, we would have awarded your creativity there. So if you want to start loading your recipes to FoodSocial, that will be welcome. Also wanted to give a quick shout out to Bryce here on the call. Bryce with Yo Mama's Foods. I don't know if you're at liberty to talk here. You're on mute, but Yo Mama's recently joined FoodSocial. They're based out of Gulf Coast of Florida near Tampa. So we hope that your business is still humming along with as little impact as possible. I know that area was hit pretty hard. So we're so excited to have you as part of the FoodSocial community. Thank you in the chat. Yes, we're so excited. I actually have, so we make pizza every week in our house. So I got some of your pizza sauce on our market, and I'm really excited to start using that along with some other dressings as well. So
We
really,
tried your garlic Alfredo sauce earlier this week, and it tasted homemade. Like, it didn't taste like it came from a jar. We were both blown away.
so exciting. A few other quick shout outs on the call. I believe this is the correct Elizabeth on the call. She's been doing some FoodSocial stuff with the team here. She's actually helping us roll out a series of seasonal posts on holiday themed topics around cooking. So, Elizabeth, I don't know if you're able to talk, but okay. Well, anyway, we're really excited about that. Maybe even next week you can show us a little bit about what you've been doing. We're gonna have your first post rolling out in time for the next call. Oh yeah, are you there? Can you talk?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, I'm super excited. It's been a lot of fun, like compiling information. Like I'm learning I'm used to just giving information. So like, and I love sharing information. So this has been a fun way to expand my way of sharing food information and like just because food is medicine. And I love just getting creative and sharing how food can heal us from the inside out and just on so many different levels.
It's so exciting. We love that you're helping the FoodSocial cause in that way. The first post is going to be on turkey, which is so seasonal. And it'll feature not only the information around it, but also recipes from the platform too. So it'll be a merging of all the things that we do. And then the final shout out here, maybe hopefully not final shout out, but maybe final. Sean Kuntz. Sean loaded, I want to say over 140 recipes in the importer this week. I think
you're welcome.
I think you're welcome, right?
Yeah. It's something I've been meaning to do for a while, but it's basically every recipe from my website other than like the cookbook review stuff that, I didn't create those recipes that I posted over the years. I just migrated the whole thing over to FoodSocial.
It's awesome. You'll be busy approving drafts in your account for weeks to come.
I sure will. And, culling 2,000 word intros and stuff from back in the day when food bloggers talked about growing up on a farm just to, make a piece of toast.
That's right.
And major shout out to Erica, who is going through all of those and making them ready for you to be able to edit and publish.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. I'm sorry about that.
Any other team updates that anyone wants to share before we get into it? No pressure, but
Go listen to our podcast. I'll just say that. Please download and listen and comment and share. That would be lovely.
And review,
that
please.
plug? Is that a good plug?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun, obviously.
I was listening to those in the car today. Okay, well, why don't I get started here?
Sorry, really quickly, I just wanted to welcome Amy on this call. Amy is the newest Sip Herbals team member, and we are just so excited to have you here. Allie and I got to chat with her yesterday, and we're happy that you joined.
And if anyone doesn't know, Sip Herbals is doing Ingredient of the Month next month. It's not too late to join that, right?
It is not. I will drop that here if you want to sign up.
Right on. Okay, Bueller. All right, let me get the sharing going here. I threw this together last night, and I'm not normally one for slides, but it did help me organize my thoughts around this. Just a little bit of background before we jump in. If you don't know my background and my backstory, I founded Primal Palette with Haley and Tony, who's on this call, way back. First with Haley, and then Tony joined us. As a paleo food blog, we wrote a few cookbooks in the early 2010s, and have probably shared about 1,500 recipes over the years. We've also shot over 40 cookbook covers, mostly for Victory Belt, in the heyday of paleo and keto. So we've done a lot of spec photography work, and I've just always really enjoyed photography. So it's not only just the Primal Palette stuff, but just merging the passions has been interesting for me in this career. So I thought this workshop could be pretty helpful in our casual lunch and learn series. If you go back on the YouTube channel, we have replays for video editing. That was one that I did. Vic from Taste of Montreal did one on photography and lighting. I'm struggling to think if we've actually had others. We don't do these very often, but we should do them more often. So we're going to do food photography with your phone today. Michelle Daniels, who's on the call, Back Porch Paleo, is going to lead a pie masterclass of sorts on November 8th. So in a few weeks' time.
Yeah. Master-ish. Adjacent. Master adjacent.
The pie
True
witch,
master.
the
The
pie
pie
witch
witch.
herself.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So we're going to do more of these, and if there's an area of expertise that you'd love to bring forth to the group and the community, we welcome that. Anybody can do a lunch and learn. So I thought this could be particularly helpful, especially as phones get more and more powerful. These phones that have 2, 3, 4 cameras on them have more and more power that you have at your disposal. And I think that it is nearly indiscernible from modern day DSLRs. I happen to have mine here, which is a big honking thing and weighs about 6 pounds. And you can see that there's a convenience factor and a cost factor. This thing is a $3,500 body and a $1,600 lens. So it's a $5,000 kit. And phones aren't inexpensive, but they are certainly less expensive than the high-powered DSLRs. So why don't we start with a game? And I won't be able to view the chat here, but in the chat, we're going to play, is it iPhone or is it camera? So you can either type it out or use the emoji. I don't really, it doesn't matter to me. I'll pull up the chat here. I'll give everybody just a second to weigh in on this one. And I love that the group is already split on this one. This one is taken with the camera. What do you think about this one? Okay, you all got this one. This was taken with the phone. That depth of field was never possible prior to the last 3 or 4 years. What do you think about this one? Ooh, we're getting good. This one was taken with the camera. And this one was taken with the phone. And there's the specs on the shot there. So you can see that it's nearly indiscernible. Of course, a few of them maybe had some characteristics that you might be able to tell, but by and large, the iPhone and the really good Androids as well, they're pretty much the same at this point. and the camera, the DSLR, they're all offering relatively the same amount of performance. This is so great for us as creators, right? Because if we're just snapping pictures casually, or if we want to travel light, or if we don't have thousands of dollars to spend on cameras, you don't need it. Like, as long as you have one of these more modern phones, you're going to have the faculty of somebody who has that expensive kit. And so the other thing that's really neat is that the phone is essentially managing all of the important tasks for you too. Like, they're automatically making the shots nearly perfect to begin with. And so if you're a little bit of a newbie to photography, when you're operating a traditional camera, there are 3 settings that essentially allow light into the camera, and the camera interprets light as the photograph. These 3 settings are shutter speed. So that's literally how fast that shutter is opening and closing. The faster it opens and closes, the less light that comes in. The longer of the exposure, the more light that comes in. So it's good in low light settings. The aperture is the size of the opening in the lens. So something really, really small is a high number. That like something like that would be like an f/22. Something like that would be like an f/2. Depends on the size of the lens, but the lower the number, the more depth of field you'll get. So this blur that's either before or after your subject. So it's not only controlling the amount of light that passes through the lens, but also like what that photo looks like. And then the sensitivity is really like the camera, like the film speed. So essentially how sensitive the camera is, how it's interpreting the light. So the lower the number, that's like the faster the speed. So like a low number, like 100, 200, 400, that's like an outdoor speed. Cameras now will expose like 12,800, 25,000, like these absurdly high numbers. The trade-off there with a really highly sensitive ISO is that you get noise in the photo. So you can see the individual pixels where the camera's guessing what's in the photo. This is a super fast, broad overview of this too. I'm by no means a photography like scholar or anything, but this is just what I understand the basics to be. So,
Bill,
yeah.
could you just give one sentence or something on the difference between shutter speed and film speed? They sound sort of similar.
So shutter speed is mechanical. Shutter speed is literally how fast that shutter is opening and closing. The film speed relates to the sensitivity of the film itself. And of course, with modern cameras and SLRs, it's digital film. So it's essentially how that digital device is interpreting the photo. So that's a little bit more of an abstract one, but the shutter speed is almost purely mechanical. With phones, you don't have a mechanical shutter in there. And even like shooting video on SLRs, it's a little bit different too. So we're sort of moving towards this world where all of these functions are essentially digitally interpreted. But that's essentially the difference there. And I hope I'm getting that straight. If I'm not, and if somebody knows that I'm wrong, like just let me know. But I believe that that's what the difference is. So the good thing is that you don't really have to think too much about that. Like, you're not operating your phone on manual mode, but I am going to show you the keys to unlocking the features that help you take photos that way. But in the context of your phone, you can then focus all your attention on the lighting, making sure you have a clean lens. I can't tell you, for something that's always in your pocket and in and out of your hands, just the simple act of cleaning the lens off before you take a shot is really important. And then, of course, styling too can sort of, like that photo of the ice cream that we showed at the end, style just like anything that we would take with our big camera. And so those simple things can be really helpful. I was planning on doing this live downstairs, but then after the fact, I realized that having hungry kids in our kitchen wouldn't be really conducive for clarity. So I actually just took a picture of this yesterday, but this is our setup, and it's not some studio or something complicated or fancy. We went to this many years ago, a decade ago, we went to a stone yard, and this was like a cut off piece of fake marble that they had. It's extremely heavy, but we've been using this as a surface for about a decade now, and we use it in this spot specifically because these dual windows face east, so we get nice like dappled morning light through the trees. We can do more like hard light setups there in the morning if we really plan for it. But also off to the right, you can see our messy great room. We get like so the other windows you can see in the back room are south facing, and we even have west facing windows too. So we can get day long light in this spot. I'll actually show you an example of what we shoot here as well. But essentially it boils down to a couple really key things about this that I hope you'll sort of take into consideration as you shoot, whether you're using a camera or an SLR. Being next to a window, I can't tell you how how critical this is to getting the proper amount of shade and shadow on your food. And I'll show you examples of like too much or too little. Having a spot where you can get light pretty much most of the day so that you can, if you're cooking a dinner, you can shoot that live. You're not making your dinner first thing in the morning. And a neutral surface can go a long way. If you don't have any surfaces, I would start with something neutral. There are some creators on the platform who are doing really creative shooting with contrasty type surfaces. Like Amanda Scarlatti has like this great blue surface that she's been pairing with like warm tone foods. So you can use different surfaces to complement the color palette in your food too. And then the note here, that's so funny. It's like we also double this as like a pastry slab for like making breads on it or pizzas. And so it serves like multiple purposes for us too. Did I skip one? Yeah. Okay. So here's an example of what this looks like. Can everybody see the FoodSocial page? Yeah, great. So this is that same spot. I'll sort of go through the shots one by one, but you can see we're able to achieve like gloss on things because we're in that like middle ground with the window nearby, and you can always position yourself around the food. So soups, things that are wet or liquid, you can get that gloss and communicate it. You can see here in this shot that here's the window. So you're combining the bokeh of the shot with the highlights of the window, and it creates this sort of, I would almost call it like a California style like look to the photo, which is something that we tend to do. It's a popular style. If you take darker photos, you can achieve that same look. You're just going to be shooting in a different direction with darker materials. And then of course, and you can just see that it's like kind of a fake slab there. But then you can also create amazing depth of field too if you shoot lower with things that are much further in the background. So we shot this at Christmas last year. That's our Christmas tree. And when you shoot at a very wide open aperture, then you can get that dappled light effect. I believe you can do the same thing with your phone too. So this is an example of what that setup can achieve. Hopefully everybody has a window like that where they live, where they can easily take things to and from and shoot them. Any questions so far? Okay, so here's the cheat sheet, which now these are iPhone specific things, but I would imagine that most phones have similar settings, but these are the settings that I believe allow you to trick somebody into thinking you've taken something with a DSLR. And so on your iPhone, it's putting it in portrait mode, which is one of the newer modes. If you need to upgrade your operating system, I would encourage you to do it because it's a really worthwhile mode on the camera. The 2x zoom is almost like a 50 millimeter lens. So you can see down here in the data from this photo that I took. By the way, these are new brands on FoodSocial. We're really excited about them. almost 50 millimeters. When you get to 50 millimeters and above, you're getting less and less distortion of the photo. So when you have a low number, it's like a fisheye. You can play with the zoom on your phone and see this in real time where lines that should be parallel start bending in the photos. The effect is obviously the same on food too. So 50 and above, typically you would also shoot like this for portraits of people. So you can use these same settings for portraits as well. I've chosen just a ever so slightly lower aperture number than I say here, but 2.0 is about the threshold of what looks believable. I think the portrait mode goes down to 1.4. And of course, there are lenses out there that will shoot a 1.4, but I don't, they're much less common. They're very expensive lenses too. Just checking the chat like really quickly, just in case there's any questions. How do you zoom in portrait mode? So I can show you that. I'm going to screen share in a little bit, but there should be a little icon in the lower left that has 1x, 2x, 3x. I don't think it gives you a dynamic zoom in there, but I could be wrong about that. But yes, the 2x, yeah, Ali's working ahead. Yes, you can change the depth of field on portrait mode. So that's the big aha, is that when you get these photos, when you're taking the photo in portrait mode, you can change the depth of field with the f-stop as well. That should be a lowercase f, but and then no flash under any circumstances, unless flash is your style. And that's totally valid, of course, but using flash almost always leads to bad effects. Okay, but phones aren't perfect, and there's still things that there's photos you will take that won't look good, and so like, how do we avoid them? Here's a photo that we took in our kitchen that we didn't use any of the settings that I just talked about. So like, you might have photos in your roll that look like this. There are all kinds of problems with this photo. For one, it's not styled, so it doesn't, off the top, it doesn't look very good, but it's underexposed. So edits that you would do to a photo like this, and we'll walk through some live examples too, but this is just the overview. Upping the exposure and the brilliance to overcome this sort of dark look. As you do that, these highlights, which are maybe appropriately exposed, will blow out. So you're going to want to bring the highlights back. If you use like Lightroom, you'll see that in the histogram that traces, your highlights and shadows and all that stuff. You will want to adjust the shadows and contrast slightly. Now, one of the things that's really interesting about taking photos of certain types of food and this one specifically, is there's a lot of green in this photo. And so the camera is not infallible. You'll take a picture of something that's like really red or really green. Those are on opposite spectrums of the tint spectrum, or they're really blue or they're really yellow. Those are opposite ends of the temperature spectrum. And so if you have some sort of strong color in your photo, you will need to adjust that. So this one is reading strongly green. So, and I don't like love this edit, but it's a little bit exaggerated, but you can see that by bringing up some levels, the highlights are still too blown on this, at least to my eye. But changing those levels, you can start to correct those. To do this differently, I would either pick like a slightly higher angle and style this. I would also shoot this in portrait mode too. Or maybe it's the styling and the location. So in this one, you can see we've got some incandescent lights, which is leading to shadows. We just shot this during our son's birthday party. So it wasn't like hey, let's go style this for a shot. Red tablecloth reflection, which you can see on the wall. Funny enough, Haley, my wife and partner, has this like hot pink tank top that she'll wear, sometimes during the summer. And when we're trying to shoot something, that color will reflect onto the food. And I'll be like, hey, can you like go put on a more neutral shirt? So even the clothes that you're wearing as the photographer will have a reflective property onto what you're shooting. Anyone who's used like a piece of poster board to bounce light onto a subject like knows this to be true. And then there's not a lot of visual interest, not a lot of depth of field. So again, this wasn't shot using those settings. And then there's shooting near a window. You, of course, can get good shots outside, but if you're shooting outside with soft clouds or in the shade, you're going to have more unpredictable results. They might like dull. So this one doesn't really have a lot of pronounced shadowing, so it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. Or you might have like really harsh lighting, and like that's also a style, maybe a little bit more accepted than stuff that looks like dull like this. So I've just found that bringing something into, even just bringing it into like a doorway or away from direct light can really help. This one, you can actually even see the frame of our back door here. So like even just being a foot away from the door, you can now see that the food has directional light on it with shadows. It gives it more depth. This is straight out of the camera. I haven't edited this. So even just taking that simple step of being near a window rather than being outside can really be helpful. And they're just guidelines. Of course, there's style and preferences are a thing. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying broadly, this can be helpful. So when it all comes together, you're going to have that well lit, natural light, whether it's coming from the side, like in this shot, so you can see this side of the food is lit, this side of the food is shaded. That's a really easy, predictable light to shoot with. The picture I showed earlier with the Costa Rica bottle and the Four Sigmatic, that was backlit, so the sun was literally behind the subject. You'll often need to brighten those photos up tremendously to get them to work, but side light is almost always predictable. This shot has some depth of field and took just a minute to style it. Bringing in a linen, the little Ninja Creamy thing there is in the background. I am going to demo some of these live, or at least I'm going to try to, but I did want to take a moment if anyone has any bigger questions that they want to ask about any of that, because that's kind of a lot and I moved kind of quickly.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
So I feel like every time I use portrait mode, it yells at me that I need to move farther away. And then I feel like by the time I move farther away, I have no idea like how to get the actual shot that I'm trying to get. So do you have any guidance for that situation?
Yeah, I do, because I get that same warning, and I think it's mostly a function of the camera, the phone, like expecting an actual portrait rather than you using portrait mode as a tool. So you can force it. You'll need to like tap on the screen and get the little yellow box around your subject to make sure it's in focus. And of course, going to this 2x zoom also helps you, like you'll naturally be a little bit further back from the food too. But
Not all of the phones have the 2x zoom. Like mine doesn't have it as an option.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, here's where you will see it if so here we're in portrait mode and it's right down there. So I wonder if that's an update thing. I'm not really sure. But that would be worth trying to run an update just to see if you can get it, because that is one of the fundamental things, because otherwise, I mean, Pooja, when you use portrait mode, can you pinch to make it zoom in and zoom out?
No.
Yeah, see that's yeah, I would look and see if an update solves that one.
I have a question, Bill.
Sure.
So something I just learned recently, when you're recording a video, I'll just record one, but on an iPhone, this little button here allows you to take a picture while it's recording a video.
Yeah.
But the settings you're talking about, like the field of depth and all that, can you adjust that on the video ahead of time so that those pictures that you're taking, I haven't messed with it, but I did.
So have you used this cinematic mode on your video?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
That's like the video version of portrait mode.
Oh, okay.
So in cinematic, now it on my phone it only lets you choose between 1x and 3x. Both are okay.
Okay.
I understand not wanting to be 3x away from food. But you also have this option up here in the, I can see myself, in the top toolbar to adjust the f-stop on that as
Okay.
well. And
Yeah,
the frame rate too, which
Yeah.
I didn't
In
notice.
cinematic mode, you can't take a picture while you're doing a video, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is the problem. You need to be a little bit more
But this is all good information because there's so much that is powerful with this, but knowing, the different settings and playing, I think is a lot of fun. So
it's changing quickly.
Yeah.
And as a personal anecdote, I like taking like family home videos, and I've almost always shot it on that big camera, but it's a lot to lug
Yeah.
around with 2 kids on the plane, and it's a liability. So I on a recent trip, I shot the entire thing on the cinematic mode on the phone, and
Cool.
just like oh, I didn't miss having like the big Canon camera because it was
Yeah.
just no big deal. Looking in the chat.
I just want to jump in and say thanks for those questions because I just learned something from Michelle, and obviously I learned a lot from Bill. But I'm a trained photographer and I shoot everything on my iPhone now. I don't even have another option. But one thing that kind of came up in Bill's conversation that I would say when he was talking about Haley's pink shirt, such a huge thing.
Yeah.
I shoot everything by myself. And if I'm struggling with lighting, and I use a side where I'm sitting right now is the table I use. But if I'm not getting enough light to bounce, I go put on an all white t-shirt. And it literally changes everything because I stand sort of like at a 70-degree angle from the window, and so it bounces a little bit of light from my white shirt. I'm also not a small person, so I'm as big as a poster board. But it does make a huge difference. So if you're like wearing a black shirt, which I usually am, that makes a ton of difference on getting light from and helps the
And my
shadows.
apron is green. I wonder if that's tossing green hue onto all my pictures because my apron's green. These are
Yeah.
all great things. This is awesome.
Yeah, so like adjusting that color balance then becomes trickier, right? Because it's almost like having a light on in your room where like the daylight temperature is like whatever 5500 K Kelvin, but having an incandescent light on could be like 3000 K. And so then you've got different parts of your subject lit with different color temperatures, and it becomes like this nightmare of trying to color balance different areas. So then you're going to want to go into like Lightroom or something like that and like paint different areas with different color temperatures, which at that point you're kind of like, why didn't I just, change my shirt? So
interesting.
All right. Well, we can keep doing questions, of course. I was going to do a quick demo and like, gosh, I hope I'm able to do this properly because this feels like walking without a net. All right. Yell at me real quickly if you're not seeing my iPhone screen.
Can't see it.
Okay, so I'll share the whole screen then because I think that's what it's going to require. Kind of figured that wouldn't work, but I thought I'd try it. Okay, you're going to see a mess for a second. And then this. Now are we good?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, I don't know if the settings are immediately visible there, but I've just brought up a couple of pictures here. I was going to show you my thought process on the ice cream photo. So I have a few of these in here that are unedited. I'm gonna have to navigate having blue blockers on and getting the color temperature correctly. But I'm gonna look at a few of these and like first what I'll do to assess these is like which one has like the area I intend to have in focus best in focus because no photographer gets that done perfectly. And I like the sprinkles on this is kind of like what I want to see as crisp as possible. This one looks really sharp, like right there. So that's a strong candidate. So let's use that one. So I'm first going to open up the settings, and thank God that worked. On this panel, you're going to see all kinds of options, so don't get overwhelmed. But the first thing it brings up is your depth of field. So of course, this is replicating the size of the aperture in the camera lens, and this, at least in the editing panel, this will just adjust the depth of field. It won't adjust the light as well. So you can see we can take that up to a smaller aperture and everything gets crisp in the shot, or we can take it to the extreme at 1.4, and then you just have that subject area in focus. Is everyone seeing this so far?
Yes.
Okay, good. So like and Sean, to answer your question in the chat, I must have had this between a couple stops here. I don't really know how I got a 1.78, but typically my sense is that a 2 or a 2.2, 2 to like 3.2 all gives you that like fancy lens look. So let's just, for the sake of argument, let's do 2. From there, I'm going to go to the adjust panel, and there's all kinds of stuff that you can adjust in here. And notoriously, I like to adjust things a lot. But the things that I typically look for, like the big picture stuff, is like if I've already qualified this photo as being sharp, then I wanna look at it through the lens of like, is this properly lit, or can I adjust the lighting in it? And so that's actually the first setting. I'll go to the exposure, and and the other thing you want to do always is to make sure your screen brightness is the whole way up, just to make that assumption. You don't want to edit on a dimly lit screen. Same for your computer, same for any device you're on. Turn the exposure or the brightness the whole way up. And then the things I'm looking at would be like the highlight areas throughout here. So essentially what the camera thinks is like white or almost white. And I'm okay if the window blows out. I'm not okay if this part of the ice cream or the ice cream container blows out. So I'm gonna take that up. Sometimes I'll go a little too high and then go, okay, like great, like I know where the threshold is. And that seems like it's in the ballpark. Maybe I'll go a little conservative on this one. And then sometimes I'll just do this on the sliders and be like, what does this do? The brilliance seems to remove a little bit of contrast, right? Because right now you've got white or light and dark contrast between the ice cream container and the shadows. And if you bump that way up, it sort of flattens it out. So bringing up the coloration of this side of the subject is really nice there. So I'll do a little bit of that. And then on the highlights, if anything I've done so far has messed that up, I might want to take it back. If you take out highlights, you'll add in color. If you put in highlights, you'll remove color. So that's one of the things to bear in mind. This is like roughly where it should be, so I'm not too worried about that. On the shadow side, this is, again, maybe a little bit style preference, but I like that that you can see this side of the subject just a little bit more, even though it's in shadow. So I'm bringing that up. If you've lost any contrast, you can add it back in here. Some of these are more sensitive than others. Brightness, how does this look? Kind of going in a good direction here. Black point, this is like the blacks that are in the photo. So like literally the Ninja Creamy back here and the chocolate sauce. Do I need to add any depth back on those? Maybe a little bit. Saturation and vibrance, you want to be a little careful with these. Of course, if you've made edits where you can't get color, you can add it back in, but boy, does it look fake. So I think you just want to be a little bit judicious on these. I'm not really sure the difference between vibrance and saturation. I think saturation is like what colors are there, and vibrance is like how much are they hitting you in the face. Now, this is these settings now get really interesting to me because we shoot near our backyard, which is grass and trees. I'm seeing the reflections of grass and trees on the marble slab. They're even coming all the way up into the shot here. And then the shot kind of turns like blue. So if you're combating the blue color, you're gonna adjust the warmth. And so I'm gonna just maybe increase the warmth just ever so slightly. You can see it does bad things if you go up too much. And then the tint goes from green to like fuchsia. So you can actually change that here. So, do the slider up all the way so you can see it. I don't need to take out all the green because the reality is that it was shot near that window. But what I don't want is that the camera to interpret this vanilla ice cream as green or the wrong color in any way. Now sharpness, maybe I'll bump that slightly just because I didn't think that it was particularly sharp. Like if you go in there and look at it, it looks like the best area of focus is like on that purple and orange sprinkle that now looks like a carrot. But it's not particularly unsharp. If I go up the whole way with that, it's not like it makes it better. It actually takes a sharpening radius around these sprinkles and gives them this like bad like halo effect. So again, just be careful with how much you do some of these. And then these later ones, noise reduction, if you've shot something at night, or if we go and we look at the black, right? Like you can see there's some noise there. Like does some noise reduction like help? It might, but it also might interfere with other parts of your shot that don't have noise. So it's a little bit of a balancing act there. I'm not too worried if somebody's just going to look at this on the phone. And then Vignette does that. So a little bit more of a style choice there. And so now we'll just look at this versus what we started with. And so we've gone from, well, obviously it's a different shot, but a little bit dimly lit. The subject isn't like really popping, to then this scoop of ice cream being more the star of the show. And in a perfect world, I would make sure that these sprinkles on the front of the ice cream were more in focus. It could be a result of us going too far with the aperture setting too. Like if you dial it back, you can see that they're a little bit more in focus and more in focus yet there. I wonder if you can set where the area of focus is. I don't know if you can. Oh.
Yeah, Phil, click on you to change where the square is, you tap. Yeah, that's exactly right. You got it.
Yeah. That's cool. So now we're all learning something on here. So that's even better yet, right? Because like with food photography, and I think there's differing philosophies on this, but like you want the photo to kind of like draw you in. And so like having the area of focus back there it's certainly doing that, but to ill effects. Or if you have the area of focus up here, you're not seeing as much of it. So kind of having that area of focus on the leading edge of what your subject matter is can make all the difference in the shot. And so that's super cool that's editable. So that's the dog and pony show on editing or taking photos with your phone and editing them. I hope it's helpful because the phones are just so convenient compared to the cameras, because if you take the photo on the camera, you've got to put it on your computer and edit it and then like put it somewhere else. I would say one of the only real drawbacks of the photos that come out of the iPhone, and again, this could probably be a setting, but like it's that HEIF or HEIC file format, which is super annoying. So if I get an answer on that, I'll try and add it to the video notes or Slack it to people, but it would be just so much more helpful if it could export as a JPEG or a PNG, because that's so much more broadly useful.
I have another tip, Phil.
I think
Yeah,
you can
please,
change how they
please.
export.
Yeah, I think you can.
Oh, good.
Pooja gave me this tip a few months ago, and it's life-changing because I shoot in the same place every time, usually, and I the same lighting, like within a half an hour, I'm like taking all my pictures. Once you get all your edits where you like them, you can copy the edits and paste them onto every video and picture you've also taken at the same time. And then you just go into edit and paste edits, and it edits it almost every time is exactly what the picture needed. And so that has saved me so much.
Cool. Yeah, there it is. So here, let's
yeah, show that if you could.
yeah, I'm learning something new right now.
Well, I can't, Pooja, how long ago did you tell me that? And I was just like, what?
That's a good one. Because
Yeah.
that's like a
Over the
Lightroom
summer
function.
sometime.
Yeah, because it's
Lost my mouse.
usually because the lighting, I'm not changing anything except I'm taking a video or whatever, because I'm always in the same place. So just something to play with, another fun functionality that is a time saver for me, huge time saver.
Can you see it? For whatever reason, I lost my mouse. So that's it there, right? Copy edits.
I can't see it, but
Is it not sharing?
mm-mm.
Did anyone else see it?
Not your phone screen, just a photo.
Let me try it once more.
And say I can show it on mine, but I'm not sharing my screen. But like I just took these pictures of
There you go.
video of my granddaughter with her muffins. Oh, there you go.
So the three dots in the upper
Three
right.
dots at the top.
Yeah. Yep. And then if I go to this next one, I can just paste edits. Yeah, look at that. That's
So-
super cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot tip.
Saved me. I take way too many videos and pictures. Like way too many. And so anyways, this just helped me, like the amount of time it carved off of me getting ready to have stuff ready for reels or posting is just mind blowing. So
What
so
about
it's really
the
Fuji's tip, not mine.
what about the save as JPEG thing? Because I would definitely like to know that one too.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember how I did it.
Yeah.
But Priya, to answer your question, like you copy the edits on one photo and then you can go to another photo that's unedited and you can paste the edits.
Yeah,
So
you
it'll
have to,
basically do
yeah.
the exact same edits on that photo.
yeah, it's huge.
I like
So
that.
are you talking about JPEG, like changing JPEG to like PNG file? Is that what you were asking?
Well, the iPhones take this HEIC
Yes, I
format, which
transferred that. You just go into that, if you go into your photo, like the preview of your photo,
Mhm.
and then you go into file, you can change that. Not on your phone, on your laptop. I've never done it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
There's a way to change how how the photos export from your phone. I can't remember how I did it.
We will find out. We'll put it in the show notes.
We'll report back.
We'll make this replay available on the FoodSocial YouTube page, and then we'll reshare it to Slack along with the slides that I shared today. I hope that they've been helpful. Any other tips from the very talented crowd here today?
You know,
It's a
I just love that
village.
we can all share. I just, you know, collectively we've learned so much, Bill. This is just great. I love it.
I have one, Bill. Something that I was taught recently that has really elevated the quality of my pictures is the concept of like, what is the story behind this picture? You know, if you're making something that's sort of family style, maybe there's plates and forks in the background and linen napkins. You know, you're getting ready to have a meal with someone. If you're doing, I don't know, like you're doing a cake, you have a slice already sliced. You can see the inside and the piece of cake as if someone's cutting it in real time. That kind of thinking of like what happens to this food in just like 5 minutes has like really helped shape my thinking around how to style and photograph the picture so that like there's more of a life to it, that it's not just a still image of a plate of food, that there's like actual storytelling behind it. That has been super helpful for me. Dare I say, a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that takes photos from good to great right there, is thinking about the context of making it look as natural as possible. Even if you're making dinner at breakfast time, I mean, thinking through that visual storytelling is a big part of it. Cool.
I think Tony cracked the code.
Hmm?
You have to try it. I don't know if it works.
He said you go to settings and then camera. And then where is it? To formats. And then formats, you select most compatible.
Interesting.
And then it'll save it as a JPEG. And yeah, that's how I have mine.
Yeah, I think mine is defaulted to that because I've never been in here.
Formats.
Huh.
Most compatible. Wow, look at that.
Thanks, Tony.
That's a good one. We didn't solve all the world's problems today, but we came pretty darn close, so. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. I hope everybody was able to take something from this conversation. What do we have coming up on the happy hour calls? Is next week just sort of a normal type one?
So next week is going to be a pretty chill happy hour, just a chance for all of us to connect. And then the following week will be our show and tell for Bachman Family Farms for our recipes of the month or ingredient of the month for October. And then the week after that will be a pie masterclass with the pie witch herself, Miss Michelle Daniels.
I will put some things out to the community, like what might be interesting, because I've been making pies my whole life, but I'm not, it's the way I do it. It's not very traditional. I will guarantee you that. So
just get ready for all of the pie puns from Allie and me because it is inevitable.
Amazing. Yes. All right. Well, hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. And it looks like
we barely got started to dance, Allie. Come on.
So glad.
That's as long as it goes. It's just ended itself.
Okay.
Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend and see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
See ya.